Coming up on InfoSecSync, a major arrest made in Russia with alleged ties to the Colonial Pipeline shutdown.
Also ahead, Russia accused of a major cyber attack against Ukraine.
And the dark web has lost its largest marketplace for stolen credit and debit cards. We've got those stories and more, so get ready to get in sync with InfoSecSync.
You're watching the InfoSecSync Weekly News with Nick Thomas and news anchor Leyla Gulen, sponsored by Axellio. Threat detection and response done right. Axellio. Also sponsored by Sirius Federal. Through high-level partnerships with the world's leading technology companies, Sirius Federal provides transformational technology solutions and services for the U.S. federal government. What's your mission?
Welcome to the InfoSecSync Weekly News for week ending January 21st, 2022. I'm Leyla Gulen with your host, Nick Thomas. Nick, always great to see you.
Good to see you too, Leyla. How are you?
Doing just great. Boy, oh boy, we've had quite a full week, a lot of it taking place in Russia. Starting with this story, the Kremlin has announced it has taken down and neutralized the Revil ransomware group, the same cyber attack gang that brought down several major industries last year. The raids were conducted at 25 properties belonging to 14 suspected members of the Revil ransomware group across several regions of Russia, including Moscow and St. Petersburg. According to Russian law enforcement, several members of Revil have been detained and charged. Computer equipment has been seized, along with cryptocurrency, over 426 million rubles, 600,000 US dollars, and 500,000 euros, and 20 luxury cars. One of the most significant alleged Revil attacks targeted Kaseya, an IT solutions developer, and food supplier JBS, which paid $11 million in Bitcoin to attackers in exchange for the key required to decrypt the network. Nick?
Among the arrests include a hacker allegedly involved in the Colonial Pipeline attack. That attack shut gas off to much of the East Coast, causing major shortages last year. U.S. officials do question the timing and believe these arrests could have happened much sooner, but are happening now to take away attention from the situation with Ukraine. With no extradition treaty in place, U.S. officials say the administration's expectation is that Russia will pursue legal action within their own system to bring those arrested to justice.
Well, we've got more to come. Fingers pointed at Russia over a major cyber attack against its pro-West neighbor. Details after the break.
Innovation, technology, it's evolving at a rapid pace.
The growth of data in our space is outpacing the growth of humans.
And that's one of the challenges with technology. It never ends. The federal government is the most important customer in the world. Being able to help any agency, any MilDep, any part of the intelligence community means that you're having a direct impact on the safety, the future of this government and the individuals that live in this country. You're helping many people do a much larger job than yourself.
Fingers are pointing at Russia following a massive cyber attack that knocked out at least 70 key government websites in Ukraine. Washington also accused Russia of sending saboteurs trained in explosives to stage an incident that could be used to invade its pro-Western neighbor. Some analysts fear the cyber attack could be the prelude to a military attack. Microsoft warned the cyber attack could prove destructive and affect more organizations than initially feared. The software giant said it was continuing to analyze the malware and warned it could render government digital infrastructure inoperable. Leyla?
Well, officials say the purpose of the attack is to intimidate and destabilize society and halt the work of the public sector. Ukraine has made a bid for membership within the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. If approved, Ukraine would be obliged to come to its defense if Russian troops were to overtake it. The Kremlin has insisted there was no evidence Russia was behind the attack. Nick?
Meanwhile, Microsoft says a new, destructive malware referred to as Whispergate was being used in cyber attacks against Ukraine's government. It's described as a possible master boot record wiper. Microsoft said, the malware is executed when an impacted device is powered down and disguises itself as ransomware, but lacks a ransom recovery mechanism and is intended to be destructive and brick-targeted devices. Cybersecurity experts say the attackers penetrated the government networks through a shared software supplier in a supply chain attack. Microsoft said it has not found any notable associations between the activity and other known threat groups, but Ukraine says it has evidence that Russia was behind the attacks. Leyla?
Well, major industrial control system vendors and other types of organizations have been targeted in a cyber espionage campaign that appears to focus on renewable energy. Using public sandbox submissions and passive DNS scans, users were apparently targeted in a phishing campaign that leveraged a basic mailbox phishing kit to harvest usernames and passwords. The phishing pages are hosted on dedicated domains as well as on compromised websites. Targets include employees of Honeywell and Schneider Electric, Chinese communications giant Huawei, and Chinese chip maker HiSilicon. The campaign has been going on since at least 2019. Nick?
Startups in the fintech sector located in China, Russia, and the U.S., among others, have become the target of cyber attacks by a subgroup of North Korea's Lazarus Gang. Blue Noroff has been linked to a series of cyber attacks targeting small and medium-sized companies worldwide with an aim to drain their cryptocurrency funds. Blue Noroff and the larger Lazarus umbrella are known for deploying a diverse arsenal of malware for a multi-pronged assault on businesses to illicitly procure funds to generate revenue for North Korea's nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs. Lazarus Group has been linked to 7 attacks on cryptocurrency platforms that extracted almost $400 million worth of digital assets in 2021. Leyla?
Well, it's time for a break. When we return, missile defense looking to upgrade the way it handles cyber threats. Don't go anywhere.
Are you concerned the next news headline on a security breach includes your company name? In a recent IBM cyber report, 51% of all interviewed organizations reported a significant business disruption during the past 2 years due to a cybersecurity incident, while organizations using 50-plus security tools rank themselves lower in their ability to detect and respond to an attack, with the average security operation team using 70 tools. If more tools and data are not the answer, what can you do? Axellio works with you to optimize a threat detection and response solution to fit your environment to prevent tool and data overload. We leverage and optimize your existing infrastructure, enhanced with the Axellio platform as necessary, utilizing open source solutions where applicable. And we work closely with you to deploy, configure, document, and educate your team. Axellio, let's create the right security solution for your environment.
And welcome back. Google Chrome has announced plans to prohibit public websites from directly accessing endpoints located within private networks. This is all part of an upcoming major security shakeup to prevent intrusions via the browser. The proposed change is set to be rolled out in 2 phases, consisting of releases Chrome 98 and Chrome 101 scheduled in the coming months. What this means is that starting with Chrome version 101, any website accessible via the internet will be made to seek explicit permission from the browser before they can access internal network resources. The goal is to safeguard users from cross-site request forgery attacks, targeting routers and other devices on private networks, which enable bad actors to reroute unsuspecting users to malicious domains. Leyla?
Well, government auditors say the federal government's response to recent cyber attacks has sharpened coordination efforts with the private sector, but exposed gaps in its information sharing abilities. The announcement comes in the wake of both the SolarWinds software supply chain attack in late 2020 and the exploitation of Microsoft Exchange servers. Officials described the 2 high-profile cybersecurity incidents as having posed an unacceptable risk to federal civilian executive branch agencies. Nick?
Accountability auditors now point to several steps taken to respond to the cyber attacks, including the formation of 2 cyber unified coordination groups. Various agencies have pointed out that gaps in network and log coverage prevented them from quickly responding to the incidents and should have been an automated process. So far, there have been 3,700 cybersecurity recommendations since 2010. So far, 900 of them have not yet been fully implemented. Leyla?
Well, a sub-agency within the Department of Defense is working to revamp part of its information technology and cybersecurity systems. The Missile Defense Agency is soliciting a new contract called the Technical Engineering Advisory and Management Support Next program. Members of the MDA staff and workforce working within the IT and cybersecurity divisions of the agency will be the primary beneficiaries of the new technology, along with the Chief Information Officer. The new software streamlined the logistics surrounding the department's project management operations. Nick?
A former acting inspector general for the Department of Homeland Security has pleaded guilty to 2 federal charges related to stealing software and sensitive data from the government. Charles Edwards also admitted to stealing data while working at the U.S. Postal Service prior to his latest tenure. In these roles, Edwards had access to proprietary software systems, some of which contained personal information on federal employees and case management information. A second defendant was also indicted and pleaded not guilty to the charges. His case is still pending. When we come back, a national thrift store becomes the target of a major data breach. We'll explain after the break.
We utilize technology in ways to transform opportunity for the country, for our citizens, and for the world. We're at the forefront of what we're able to do with some of these solutions when you talk about artificial intelligence and analytics and what we can do with data and how we utilize those solutions to make lives better for everybody. The future's bright and the possibilities are endless.
And welcome back. The dark web's largest marketplace for stolen credit and debit cards is shutting down. The announcement also included a cryptic message stating, "Age and health is a reason for the shutdown." The UNICC team also gave its users 10 days to spend their balances, while also warning customers to not follow any fakes tied to our comeback. Platforms such as Unique function as an underground marketplace wherein credit card details stolen from online retailers, banks, and payment companies by injecting malicious skimmers are trafficked in exchange for cryptocurrency. The cards are then used by criminal actors to purchase high-value items or gift cards. Unique earned $358 million in purchases since 2013 using cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether, and Dash. Leyla?
Well, the closure comes exactly a year after market leader Joker's Stash announced its retirement a year ago after having facilitated the sale of nearly $400 million in stolen cards. It's also the latest in a growing list of criminal marketplaces to have voluntarily closed shop over the past year. The illicit market for stolen credit card data has become so lucrative that sales have surpassed nearly $1.5 billion just in Bitcoin. Nick?
Threat actors who use data sharing website Doxbin have had passwords, decryptor keys, multi-factor authentication codes, and stealer logs leaked online. Hackers routinely use Doxbin to dump their victims' personally identifiable information. A stealer is a Trojan used by threat actors to gather information from its victims' systems. The leaked data includes personally identifiable information of an undisclosed number of Doxbin users, both hackers and their victims. The exposed information includes identities of the threat actors, family members, IP addresses, and geolocation. The doxed information includes critical, work-related information that may be exploited to carry out phishing attacks. Leyla?
A critical vulnerability could impact biometric identification devices like thumbprint and facial recognition readers. The security defect impacts multiple IDEMIA devices and can be exploited to unlock doors and turnstiles. This happens if the TLS protocol is not activated. The attacker could also exploit the bug to cause a denial of service condition by sending a reboot command to.
Well, researchers have disclosed a security shortcoming affecting 3 different WordPress plugins. The issue impacts more than 84,000 websites and could be abused by a malicious actor to take over vulnerable sites. Cross-site request forgery, also known as one-click attack or session writing, occurs when an authenticated end user is tricked by an attacker into submitting a specially crafted web request. The findings come a little over a month after attackers exploited weaknesses in 4 plugins and 15 Epsilon framework themes to target 1.6 million WordPress sites as part of a large-scale attack campaign originating from 16,000 IP addresses. Leyla?
Well, SAP has patched a serious improper authentication vulnerability on SAP NetWeaver application server, ABAP, and ABAP platform. The defect can be used to bypass protection against external calls. The highly critical vulnerability was addressed on the October 2021 SAP Patch Day. Described as an improper authorization issue, the security error allows an attacker to tamper with transport requests, thus bypassing quality gates and transferring code artifacts to production systems. A transport request can be tampered with after it has passed all quality gates, and the attacker could add a payload to be executed after import into a target system, thus opening the door to supply chain attacks. All SAP environments where a single transport directory is used is advised to apply the available patches and check for manipulations of transport requests before importing into production. Nick?
Well, of all the data breaches reported last year, the healthcare industry took the top spot for the majority of hacking and IT incidents. At least 713 major healthcare data breaches affecting more than 45 million individuals reported for 2021, and those figures could go higher. Hacking and IT incidents were by far the most dominant type of health data breach. Experts say this is no end in sight. Stepped up efforts paired with new tools make it easier for someone with basic experience to launch a more sophisticated attack. Leyla?
Well, finally, no good deed goes unpunished. The nonprofit organization Goodwill has started notifying users of its shopgoodwill.com e-commerce platform that their personal information was compromised as a result of a cybersecurity breach. The company has informed users that an unauthorized third party accessed buyer content information, including name, email address, phone number, and mailing address. The Shop Goodwill website affected by the breach generated more than $1 billion in sales since its launch in 1999. The Shop Goodwill website is currently offline for, quote, maintenance, but it's unclear if it's related to the breach. This appears to be the second data breach in the past decade. Well, that's going to do it for us. On behalf of Nick and myself, thank you so much for watching. You're now in sync with InfoSecSync. We'll see you again next week.
Are your security event notifications impossible to prioritize and act upon? Axelio's Packet Express platform provides total packet visibility that works with your existing analysis applications to enable a comprehensive threat response. Capture any traffic reliably at 100 gigabits per second. Distribute directly from disk to any security application at over 100 gigabits per second to keep up with traffic spikes and growth. Pivot directly from an event into the relevant packets for insightful pre- and post-event analysis. Packet Express for informed decisions and rapid incident response. Axelio. Detect, disrupt, defend.
Technology is always moving forward, and one of the things that Sirius Federal does really well is understand how the technology pairs with what the business intent is for that customer. Cisco offers a really robust suite of products and solutions that really help move business intent forward, not just solve a singular problem.